Again, welcome back to Learning Lead episode 22 to Phage or to Blade. It is L3 IRD yet again into this awesome madness that is to Phage or to Blade part 2. But other than that, we are going to be starting up this second part of this episode with the usual thank yous to everybody who is here, to the people who are watching in the chat room, to the people who are watching on YouTube, but also to the people of Definitive Esports, D-esports.com, and also the awesome sponsors XMG, Mad Cats, Antec, Triton, Ben Q, and as well as there is a Mad Cats promotion / giveaway going out. Do check out the Definitive Esports website, d-esports.com, for that contest. But other than that, we are going back into Phage or to Blade. We wanted to talk about, again, this little bit of a misconception about, dorians, blades, and two phages and such like that. Really quickly, again, we talked about, just a little bit briefly, that BF Sword is actually taking the rise, starting that off first now, just because more AD carries are seeing the not usefulness, but uselessness of Dorian's Blades, especially with Dorian's Blades being a 950 gold cost in there, and it is not really that big of a deal per se. Like, you have the minions coming into play at 1 minute 30 seconds, right? They spawn, and they'll be into the bottom lane about 1 minute and 55 seconds, between the 2 minute mark almost. And what you want to do is to kind of time yourself and think about, well, every 30 seconds minions come to the lane. Every 30 seconds minions spawn, but every 30 seconds minions come to the lane. With that kind of knowledge, you know that Dorian's Blades with the 950 cost, and per se you get around 30 to about 25. I would say about 30 gold per each minion wave if you clear it all successfully. So 6 times 30, because that's the usual amount of minions that come in. 3 melee minions, 3 range minions. 3 times 30, or sorry, 6 times 30, 180. Then you have Dorian's Blades, which is 950 cost. Let's just round it up. You have about 5 waves that you get for Dorian's Blade. Pretty much with those 5 waves, you use about 2 minutes and 30 seconds of your time. So you want to think about it like, oh, I used 2 minutes and 30 seconds of my time to get 2 items that I can't really upgrade, or I can use 1650 cost with the BF sword and go into that a little more. That's about 4 minutes. I can get my BF sword about 2 minutes earlier with pretty much the same damage output that I would have in that early game to mid game phase, while into that mid game phase with that BF sword start first, or per se the Phage start first, you would have so much more damage, plus you actually would be building into your item build, while somebody else going with Dorian's Blades first, not going to go into the item build pretty quickly, still probably building up to the first big core item. So, long story short, Dorian's Blades are kind of getting obsolete. Even Dorian's Rings per se, because they did get the nerf as well, getting obsolete as well. So, again, something to look out for the pretty much later goings of the Season 2 ending / into before beginning of Season 3. Also, the misconception that we're going to be talking about, Dorian's Blades and Phages, they don't mix. Don't do it, because you're just going to fall a little bit behind. And with that little bit behind in the early game, especially in solo queue, you can't really trust yourself to get back in the mid game if your team isn't trusting you. So yeah, we're going to go into part 2 of this episode, and we're going to look at unconventional AD carries into the Phage versus Blade kind of outlook. Looking at it right now, we are kind of into the mid part of this game, well, the Phage versus Blade, and we're looking at the matchup of MF versus Graves. Again, MF not an usual AD carry to go Phage on, just because they don't usually build up to Trinity Forces. I mean, they do have abilities like proc off of AP, but the abilities proccing off of AP would be Make It Rain, which is a pretty minuscule amount of AP, plus bullet time, which is a pretty minuscule amount of AP ratio, 0.2 right there, and I think it's like 0.4 on the Make It Rain. So very, very useless, I would say. Plus the passive of Impure Shots, whatever. It's not the greatest. Think of it like Tristana. Tristana has really great W ratio with her rocket jump. She does a decent amount of damage ratio with the explosive drop. I think it's a 0.5 ratio. Plus the buster shot is like a 1.0. Think of it as Tristana, but think of it as a weaker version of AP Tristana. So yeah, MF gonna be not very useful with that Phage. Like, I don't know, like, if I would see a Phage on MF, I'd be thinking, really? Trinity Force? Really, really easy game on an AD carry that doesn't use the real Trinity Force. And that is something that you'll have as a one-up, pretty much, in the game of building Trinity Force first, actually. I mean, sorry, building Phage first, actually. Because technically, with a wrong item build, supposedly, you know, people take it a little bit more lax. People take it a little bit like, oh, well, it won't work out. It's okay, so we have an easier mid-game. And giving them that extra little bit of security really changes the game out for just literally the whole game. So given that extra bit of security, we're going to see what I can do with Phage first. Again, I went Berserker Greased just because I just felt like Impure Shots, especially with that heal debuff passive, really, heal debuff active, really hurts down onto Graves, because Graves is only self-sustaining between the double door, or the, I think it was one Dorian's Blade and that one Vampire Scepter. So like it really, really wouldn't help him out as much anymore if I got more shots in with these Impure Shots. So that was my thinking about that, and I will be going Phage first onto this one. Again, when do you go Phage first? You can go Phage first whenever you really want to. I mean, literally, your item choice is yours, and your items are how you want to dictate it. But like in StarCraft 2, like in not World of Warcraft, like in Warcraft 3, you have to really think about what you want to do in that mid game to that late game to that early game to that mid game. Like, you really want to plan out ahead, like, oh, so I'm ahead, I'm going to do this, or oh, I'm behind a little bit, I'm going to go build onto this and hit a mark where I want to get into this item. So in that instance, you want to just keep on thinking, like, when would this be viable, when would this be viable? Truthfully, more MF players should be going BS Sword first to Bloodthirster just to get their stacks on. Plus on top of that, you have Impure Shots, so you're going to be working with that. But with that early lane advantage that I got with the second kill, I felt like Phage was going to be a really good choice anyway, and then pretty much it'll get me a little bit more secured when I do try to go face off against Graves, who does have the double Dorians and does have that Vampire Scepter start. So which non-TF Trinity Force ADCs can you use this on? You need to have somebody who has a attack speed buff, Impure Shots with MF, Graves with Quick Draw, Varus with that passive that does give him 40% more attack speed or 20% more attack speed when he does kill minions or onto the awesome AD carries. So yeah, you just want to keep up that kind of dimension. You also want to keep up the mention that, you know, you need to have Bloodthirster as a first item. Like, Tristana would be a really good catcher with Phage, but you can't really build into a Bloodthirster first with Tristana, because if you do that, it's not the best idea. You're gonna have a kind of a bad time with that. So yeah. Other than that though, I mean, Bloodthirster first is a really, really important topic, just because, well, it'll skyrocket your game into that later run, into that mid-game dominance where you want to push down towers, literally, or you want to just own up and push down everything that you can with killing everyone. That's pretty much what Bloodthirster signify in this game now, instead of kind of being behind and such. Oh, I remember that cat, that was horrible. So yeah, we do come back. I'm going to have the Vampire Scepter. Right now, let's look at the gold. 2,697 to 3,000 gold. A little bit ahead, not too much ahead, but a little bit ahead. And I would say that, you know, I'm in a decent state. 320 have 60 CS. Graves has 56 CS compared to 131. I'm thinking to myself, well, you know what? In this early to mid-game phase, I just want to keep on just using my advantages. Lulu's trying to get herself caught so that I can get in and get more damage in onto Probably Graze more than Blitzcrank, but either one. But in general, I just want to get more CS, so I want to keep up this advantage. And with Phage, you can either do this in one of two ways. You can keep the advantage by keep on harassing and keep on damaging out on the carry that has to get away from all the trades that you're doing, because you do have that attack speed buff, or you have the attack speed buff, plus you have the attack damage on top of that. But also, you know, you want to keep up the advantage in another way. You want to keep up the farm as well. And with that Phage, I mean, it's not the best because double the dorians actually gives you, I think, 2 more AD. That's what it said on the graph. I mean, it's helpful, but you want to actually just keep it up on the CS score, because if you keep up your CS, I mean, in general in bot lane, you get more damage, you get more stuff. So yeah. 72 CS compared to the 56 CS now about to be. We got the 4-2 right here, and we're gonna be back in the win. So at this point, it's pretty strong for me. I think I can build BF sword right on top of this. No, not yet. But I mean, I'm going to go build up into a bloodthirster right now. While compared to Graves right now is pretty much sitting at a really bad score, but also he's sitting at 3,000 gold. Just a little bit more minuscule to my 4,000 right now, and this is just me just getting ahead. And in general, this is just me getting ahead as an 80 carry, right? But in general, also as well, this is me getting ahead in an item build kind of choice, because say you wanted to go Doran's Blade first, say you wanted to get that damage down, right? You want to get the Doran's Blade, but you want to sell them out mid game to late game, right? The mid-game to late-game gold of Doran's Blades, again, is 238 to sell value, while compared to Phage, which is a 840 sell value. It is so much more investment to put in, right, for Phage, but it's actually so much more in return to get back from a Phage, especially since you only get it from one item slot. And something of point to say, in general for League of Legends, item slots are actually really important. The difference between having a ward, the difference between having a pot and a ward is super important in the mid game too, the early game too, even in the late game. And if you can save a slot by not having an extra item that doesn't really do anything, I mean, that is pretty strong. On top of that, you can sell it for more gold. That is super strong. So what is the core build into this whole madness of the thing? While we still go through super fast speed. Pretty much the core you want to build into, again, BT first. That is a very important thing that you have to recognize that you can actually do, because Vampiric Scepter builds into Bloodthirster usually. I mean, you can build it to an Executioner's Calling, you can build it into a Wriggle's Lantern, but Bloodthirster, you should go for that. You want to get that in as soon as possible. So getting that Bloodthirster really will help you out in that mid-game to early mid-game to that mid-game dominance right over there. So getting that as soon as possible will help you get more attack damage, but also as well get you more damage onto the towers and even onto the players as well. So in general, you want to get something that can skyrocket you ahead and ahead. Infinity Edge can work out, but it's not the best of ideas. I mean, Infinity Edge and then you still have a Vampiric Scepter. It feels like you're just like kind of biding your time, because you only have a Phage, you only have a Vampiric Scepter. So that's why I say that you want to have that Bloodthirster first, because you need to do a lot more damage per se. Plus you can still use the items that you kind of build in from the core. So Bloodthirster is your first main goal item, right? Your core items really is Berserker Greaves, Phage, and Vampiric Scepter. Just like how Berserker Greaves double Dorians into Vamp Scepter is the usual core from before, it's now kind of turning into that. I mean, if you want to say something else, I mean, BF Sword, Vampiric Scepter, Berserker Greaves, I mean, that's the other thing that is kind of becoming common in 80 carries as well. And in all three ways, they're all respectable. I mean, Phage, you start off first, you get that extra slow proc, you get that health, you get that damage, and as well as you have the lifesteal. And you can skyrocket yourself pretty early. With the BF sword start first, you have tons of damage, and you still have, you know, just mobility. And with Doran's Blades, you get that little bit of lifesteal, a little bit of damage, and a little bit of health. Overall, I feel like Dorian's Blade should be still a decent amount of players to go. I mean, that's the standard. That's how everybody grew up on if you played League of Legends from even when I started in July, last July, and such like that. But in general, I wouldn't be surprised if Phage actually was a really good start for non-conventional AD carries as well. So we're about in the mid game right now, early mid game, and from early game to mid game, what do? You kind of just want to have that lane dominance, which I kind of had a little bit just because of Lulu's help. I especially thank Lulu for doing a lot of the baiting, but moreover, just in that CS lead. Once you have that little bit of CS lead, you can just skyrocket it ahead, and on top of that, you get the kills. I mean, it's pretty much great of both worlds. While on the other hand, if you're having that early CS lead, you do not want to give up any kills, because technically the kill is about a minion wave or so. Like you have to have that death timer kind of time out. So you have like 30 seconds to wait up to actually get up to the minion wave or to respawn, and you have 30 seconds to actually get to your minion wave as well. That's a really big deal. Missing out a minute of time in the game of League of Legends is missing up on almost what, 400, 500 gold, and that is super important to kind of keep up and ahead, because if you don't keep it, well, you're gonna have a bad time. A lot of this game, I mean, simplistically, if you want to think about it, it's more about time management and more about when you want to position yourself to get into position to actually do such attack or do such a dive or do such a thing. And that's what you see with the higher teams. You see that with the Korean teams, with Azubu Blaze, with Najin Sword, technically with Azubu Frost. You see that with M5, especially with M5, because they time down everything in their way and path. Having those timings and having that knowledge of, oh, when is a good time, if I have to take back, I can do this and have this much gold in per se. It's all about the timing. If you can get that timing down from yourself internally, and you don't have to actually really think about it, because that's what most of the pro players are doing right now, because they just think about it internally and just kind of go with the flow, whatever. If you can do that, you are going to be in such an easy state of mind that you can pretty much have this easier mindset of, oh, I know where I'm going. I know what item builds I'm going to be building into. I know if I'm behind, I'm going to go do this, but if I know if I'm ahead, I can do this and make sure that I can still stay ahead. I mean, that's one little thing off your mind that you don't have to think about, and more of the mind that you can actually focus in on, actually get the game on. I think I had to kite pretty hard on this one. But other than that, yeah, that's pretty much the difference between, I would say, probably bronze, silver players to about gold players. Just the item, the time thinking about the game, and time thinking about like what you're gonna do actually during the game, is actually the biggest kind of difference in the game of League of Legends for just low elo players and mid to high elo players. Although I don't think that I'm a high elo player. 1500 right now, dropped down from 1600. I mean, yeah, I'm good, but I'm not too good. But in general, like those things, just little small things with item builds really do change up the game. So that's early game to mid game. What do we do? Just own it up. Try to get as much CS, try to get ahead, and try to build up into your core items. From the mid-early game to the late game, which we are in right now, pretty much the mid game, you want to push down towers. You want to, if you're going Bloodthirster first, you want to secure pretty much the map. If you can get that map dominance, as I usually talk about, you get pretty much control of the game. You get the pace, you get all of just pretty much where everyone is. And once you kind of get that part of the game, it's pretty hard to throw it. Yet a lot of people do throw it, but that's pretty hard to throw it, just because you know where you're going to be positioning, you know where the opposing team is, and you know what to do to get those kills, or to get those objectives, per se, barrier and dragon, or even the second towers. So yeah, getting those first tier towers really help easing up the game load for yourself, and makes it so much harder for your opponent. Other than that, you want to farm to your delight. I mean, AD carries. Number one thing about AD carries is you want to actually farm more than actually get kills. I mean, kills are very nice, and if you can deny kills or if you can deny time from farming for the other AD carry, it's just super more important. Damn build, man. Let's swing so strong. Or if you can misposition people, that's always good too. You do see a little bit of skirmish, lots of damage coming down. I will say that, you know, my skills at AD carry is not actually the greatest. My fundamentals of actually the last inning, if you actually seen my lane phase, pretty bad, I would say. I'm not the greatest in the early phase for either top lane or AD carry. Those are my two kind of main things, and I would say those are pretty bad for me because I still don't really get how to last hit very efficiently enough. Like, I get sometimes that I want to do a trade, but I get sometimes I want to do, you know, last inning, whatever. But in general, the control, the aspect of seeing where to go in the map and such, is really important. And if you can get that one aspect down, you'll win a majority amount of your games just because you know where to go. And once you have a basic amount of fundamentals, which is where I'm at right now, a kind of basic amount of fundamentals, you'll really skyrocket into pretty much competitiveness. Just because you already have one part of the most important part of the game of League of Legends, which is map control, which is also knowing where to position yourself later on. You see the grab over here, and we're going to see a lot of damage come down, lots of rain just happen, lots of damage coming out from the Mumu and the Ribbon, and now it's just cleanup for us over here into the little area over here. In the end, I think I do do pretty well. I sell the Phage pretty much midway. The opposing team did actually comment on me starting out TF, and they're like, oh, it's a TF misfortune. How much damage are you gonna do? Well, I'm not really truly a TF misfortune. I'm a pretty good bloodthirster first into everything else later. Again, when you do build out to a TF misfortune, supposedly, you do still want to build up to Phantom Dancer. I think Phantom Dancer is just so strong on misfortune that it'll work out as well. For the other two, Graves and Varus, you still want to do the same thing. You build out the Bloodthirster first, and then you build into the awesomeness of the Phantom Dancer right after. Once you do that, you pretty much just change the game back into yourself. So yeah, that is about it for the episode of 22 to Phage or to Blade Part 2. Hopefully you did enjoy most of what we were talking about today. Sorry about the little bit of interruption during the day. But other than that, I want to say thank you to everybody here from Defender Esports, D-esports.com. This hosts the show, helps out the Learning League crew, helps out the Gimbal Arm crew, which should be tomorrow, and the Chobo to Gosu crew as well. Which, you know, Pew is a pretty good guy. So you should check him out as well over there. But other than that, also check out the sponsors on the bottom left: Antec, Triton, BenQ, Mad Cats, and XMG. And also check out the awesome giveaway that is coming out for the I think it's Mad Cat headset. It's a really good headset. You should go check it out and check out the site for that giveaway. But other than that, from me to you to me, it has been L3ID, and I am gonna be signing out. Again, guys, just another day. Phage the Blade.